If you ever met someone who can fix a broken radio with one hand, remembers phone numbers without saving them, and still flinches when the streetlights turn on, congratulations, you've met someone who grew up in the 1970s and today. We're diving into the fascinating psychology behind people raised in one of the most quietly intense decades ever. Now, stay with me, because by the end of this video, you might suddenly understand your parents, your older relatives, or even yourself a whole lot better. People who grew up in the 1970s were shaped by a world that was slower, rougher, and strangely more free at the same time. There was no internet, no GPS, no text me when you get there. If you left the house, you were gone. And somehow, everyone survived. Psychologically, this created a strong sense of independence. 70s kids learned early that problems didn't come with tutorials. If your bike broke, you figured it out. If you got lost, you asked a stranger. And if dinner was at 7, you showed up at 7 or you heard about it. That's why many people from the 70s are extremely resourceful today. They don't panic easily. When things go wrong, their brain doesn't scream, Google it. It says, all right, let's handle this. Another big trait? Emotional toughness. Life in the 70s didn't come with a lot of emotional explanations. Feelings weren't ignored, but they weren't constantly discussed either. You fell, you cried, you got up, and someone said, you'll be fine. And somehow, you were. This doesn't mean people from the 70s don't feel deeply. They do. They just don't always advertise it. Their emotions tend to live quietly inside, like background music instead of a loud ringtone. And here's something funny: people who grew up in the 70s often look calm in chaos, but get stressed over small modern things. A power outage. No problem. A phone battery at 2%? Absolute disaster. Growing up in that era also built a strong respect for patience. Want to watch a show? You waited for it. Missed an episode? Too bad, no rewind. No replay. Your brain learned acceptance very early. This is why many people from the 70s are surprisingly patient listeners. They don't interrupt much. They don't rush conversations. They're comfortable with silence. Silence to them isn't awkward, it's normal. Socially, the 70s created people who are excellent face-to-face communicators. No emojis, no voice notes. If you wanted to express something, you used your voice, your eyes, your tone. That's why many of them can read a room instantly. They'll know something's wrong before anyone says a word. But let's talk about trust. People who grew up in the 1970s tend to trust slowly but deeply. Once you're in, you're in. This comes from a time when relationships weren't disposable. You couldn't just block someone and move on. You had to deal with people, talk things out. Sometimes argue, sometimes forgive. This also explains their loyalty to friends, to jobs, to routines. They may complain about things, but they don't quit easily. Their mindset is, we fix what's broken. We don't throw it away. And yes, they are nostalgic. Very nostalgic. Music from the 70s isn't just music to them, it's memory storage. One song can take them back to a kitchen, a car ride, or a summer evening with the windows open. Their brain links emotion strongly to sound, smell, and physical places. That's why they'll say things like, music today has no soul, while secretly tapping their foot to it anyway. One more thing: humor. People raised in the 70s often have dry, observational humor. No flashy jokes. No loud delivery. Just one sentence that lands perfectly. And then silence. If you missed it, that's on you. This humor comes from growing up in a world that didn't explain itself. You learn to laugh at situations, not just punchlines. So what's the core psychology of people who grew up in the 1970s? They are independent but loyal. Emotionally strong but quietly sensitive. Calm in chaos, slightly confused by modern apps, and deeply connected to real experiences. They didn't grow up online, but they grew up alive in the world. And maybe that's why, even today, they carry a certain grounded energy. Like they've already survived a few system updates. And they're not too worried about the next one. If you know someone from the 70s, you probably know this already. And if you grew up in the 70s, well, your brain deserves some serious respect. Because it didn't just grow up, it adapted. And that's a psychology worth understanding.